about is one of those rare autobiographies that I've read in my life. There's not much of a story to tell because it's now out in the public view what Lance Armstrong did, what his story is about. But I would like to talk to everybody about this book. The session is about what moved you, a book or a movie. A lot of movies have moved me, a lot of books have moved me, but keeping in view what happened with Lance, everyone's heard that he's accepted to the fact that he, took performance-enhancing drugs for all the 7 Tour de France titles that he won. So I just want to, I'm into reading and watching movies and all, but I just picked up this autobiography thinking, what is Lance Armstrong? I used to be very intrigued by those Livestrong bands everybody used to wear, and I knew it was something to do with cancer. So I picked up this book a good 5-7 years prior to where we are today, and read through it. And I must hand out to every one of you that if you do get a chance, you must read it. It was inspiring to none the least because he's a guy down with cancer and a testosterone, a cancer that is not very common, and then he is going on to sort of win 7 Tour de France titles. So I thought this guy is made up of a lot more metal. So I pick up this book and I read it, and extremely solid, okay, in his resolve, in the way he fought. In fact, I will take you through one short passage in a bit. And this story sort of tells you, what it taught me was that when you're down in the dumps, when you're really literally out in the gutter and you have nothing to look up to, we should just keep staring. I should keep looking at the stars because somebody out there is in a worse situation than me and has given up all hope. And here I am, so surrounded in my own grief that I can't seem to look beyond it. So it was in that way a very optimism instilling story of somebody who was shunned by the community, was shunned by sports authorities, by his own fans, and said that he couldn't ever win. So it moved me to that respect, and a very short paragraph that I want to read out to everybody is that this is when he's diagnosed with the cancer. So he says, what are my chances? It was a question I would repeat over and over, but it was irrelevant, wasn't it? It didn't matter because the medical odds don't take into account the unfathomable. There is no proper way to estimate somebody's chances, and we shouldn't even try because we can never be entirely right. And it deprives people of hope. Hope, that is the only antidote to fear. So he, of course, has been told that he's got cancer. He only has a certain amount of period that he will stay alive for. Moving on, this is just a little bit about what was going on in his mind. He says, I wanted to live, but whether I would or not was a mystery. And in the midst of confronting that fact, even at that moment, I was beginning to sense that to stare into the heart of such a fearful mystery wasn't a bad thing. To be afraid is a priceless education. Once you have been scared, you know more about your own frailty than most other people can ever know about it. And I think that changes a man. I was brought to a new low in my life, and there was nothing to take refuge into but the philosophical, that this disease would force me to ask for more of myself in person than I had ever before, and seek out a different ethic. Very briefly, it sums up his own entire struggle, saying that it inspired me and all. And the book eventually finishes with him winning 7 titles, and him and his wife, they celebrate. So I've been in awe of this man for a very long time. Then recently I've been personally reading up reports on him. Of all platforms that he could have chosen, goes on to an Oprah Winfrey show and says, I accept to doping, I use performance-enhancing drugs. So what does that do for somebody like me who was so inspired by a book like this? It was a feeling of utter dejection. It was a feeling of cheat. I felt cheated by somebody who I thought actually fought very hard. He fought against the systems. I don't have to name it. If you guys are aware, let me just add on to your knowledge that he fought the Federal Drug Association of US, which is the most stringent, enforcement agencies in sports today. So it made me believe that, maybe there is no real truth. Maybe media, in its own way, is an eyewash. Maybe what he wrote in his autobiography that I held very close to my heart all these years was really nothing but a propaganda. Right? And I was in that was the mental frame of mind when I kept reading about him. I discussed it with my friends, my family, saying that, what's truth? Who do you believe in? Eventually, there is no faith. It's you. And I've come to a stage now where I've where I still feel that there is a lot that one can take away from this book, and I would like you all to read it. Now that we all know that this man has actually lied his way through this entire story. So what's that takeaway? For me, there's just one takeaway from this entire book, is that when you're down and out, you've actually discovered your own self. You've come to face with your own fears, and once you see that, you know what, this is what I'm scared of, so now I know how to make a plan to deal with my fears. It makes you strong, it makes you realize that you can still be there for those who don't have anyone to be there with. So I'd like you guys to perhaps read certain parts of it, despite knowing the fact that, yes, he lied his way through. But there is still an inspiration that we can take from perhaps his struggle, and the fact that he did at one point in time try a little harder than any one of us would have in a strict situation. So it's just that much of an inspiration.